a brand that does, $1 million in sales and the way that it runs and operates is very different than a brand that does $5 million in sales. $5 million sale brand is very different than a brand that does $10 million in sales.
Hey, welcome back to the Amazing Freedom Amazon Seller Podcast. All kinds of exciting stuff going on our end, Andy. We're actually just closing on a new brand that we just acquired, and lots of emotions involved with it for sure. Whenever you kind of make a big investment decision, buying an entire brand, but it's been exciting. This is a $1 million brand that we're adding to our portfolio. And today we wanted to talk about our new venture called Direct Path Brands. And we're looking to buy more brands, partner with people who are looking to take their brand to the next level. And we want to kind of hit that in what other sellers might be looking at when it comes to making investment decisions or exiting their brand and kind of focusing on a new chapter. So let's just start with this Direct Path Brands, Andy, and this acquisition that we just closed on this week. When was that? Monday, I think the wire officially went out. So always, again, a kind of scary process to go through this. We're relatively new to the buying brand scene. But Andy, you've now sold brands, you've bought brands. Walk us through this process and kind of what this new chapter means for you.
Yeah. So, if you listen to the podcast, you know that Nate and I have been in the Amazon space for now 9 years. And I really think it's kind of a natural progression. We started doing retail online arbitrage and then kind of moved up to where we now sell our own branded products. We manufacture them here in the US and overseas. It's our label, our brand. We're the only seller on the listing. And I think that's kind of a natural progression for a lot of folks that we know anyway that sell on Amazon. And now that as we've kind of learned the Amazon ecosystem, figured some things out, I think it's really a natural progression to see others who are selling on Amazon and for whatever reasons have built decent brands, but may want to exit out of them. And we have a decent sized team now with folks that have been with us for a while who really know how to basically operate. And so really, building a brand and growing your brand, it all comes down to execution and operation and having that team that has the chops to be able to do that. And I think we're at a place now where we feel confident that we can acquire brands and bring them to a greater sales level, a greater net profit level. And so when the opportunity came up for this brand that Nate talked about, we jumped at it. And, thankfully, again, that we're in a good position, and we may talk about that on a later podcast, that being in a good position cash flow wise, the phrase cash flow is king. When times begin to get hard and our economy is definitely going through some bumps right now, is a really good place to be in as an entrepreneur because you might see opportunities. And that's what happened with this brand that we just acquired. It was definitely an opportunity. We feel like we have the team and the operational chops to be able to acquire it, to grow it, and to continue to make it profitable. So for us, that's what's exciting. Again, I think it's a natural progression after being in a business space for so long that you begin then to look at, hey, are there other brands that you might be able to assimilate, into what you're doing operationally?
Yeah. So if you want to look at it, directpathbrands.com is now our portfolio company that's just holding the different brands that we have. And right now we don't have a ton, but we basically have a large brand that has multiple brands within it, product lines, and then this new brand that we just added. So we're getting to the point where this is growing. And like you said, Andy, we're just using our team that we have to operate these different brands. And then this one that we just closed on, I want to specifically talk about that and the reasons why you personally sold your brand in the past, or people who are listening to this. I know everyone's in a different phase of their business, their Amazon business, their brand, if they have one. I guess why might a seller look at selling their brand? What was your reasons, and what's kind of involved with this decision-making process of it's, some people create a brand and they're specifically like, I'm going to sell this in 3 years for a 3x multiple, and they kind of have it planned out and they have like a dollar amount they want to hit. But that's not everybody. Some people have kind of just gone through this process and they're not really thinking it that way. Maybe walk through your place where you were at when you sold your last brand.
Yeah, so we've talked about this before, but a brand that does, $1 million in sales and the way that it runs and operates is very different than a brand that does $5 million in sales. And $5 million sale brand is very different than a brand that does $10 million in sales. And so for me, when I was operating my brand early on that I sold 2 years ago, it was a brand that I'd been building for about 4 years. And I grew it to that $1 million level in revenue, but I didn't really have the team or the bandwidth to grow it beyond that. That was one of the reasons. And then the other reason was I saw what I thought was a better opportunity in another brand that you and I were beginning to build. And I felt like it was kind of a distraction, this $1 million brand that I had. So those are decisions, right, that we make oftentimes, probably daily. We make opportunity cost decisions. And for me, it was an opportunity cost, kind of a distraction. I'd rather go all in on this other brand that I felt like had a higher ceiling. So those are some personal reasons that I had. And I imagine other entrepreneurs may be in that boat as well, where, they're a one-man operating team. They're really enjoying what they're doing and they get it to a certain level. And we see this a lot, right, in the Amazon space. And if you're listening to the podcast and you are at that level, but, maybe you hit a ceiling, you're like, man, I just don't have the ability to grow a team. That's another thing we hear a lot from entrepreneurs is, I don't want to manage employees. And we know that in order to scale right to that $5 million level and 10 million, you have to manage employees. You have to have other talent on your operational team that's going to allow you to scale and grow. And so those are some reasons that some folks may say, hey, look, I hit this level. I don't want to build and scale, and that maybe they don't have the ability to do that. So, for me, again, that's when I said, okay, hey, it's time for me to exit out of this brand.
And for us personally, it's really interesting to look back on the journey. And most people who listen to this and have been with us on this journey for some number of years now, we had our course for a while, right? Where we were selling the Amazing Freedom private label course and teaching people how to do everything that we've done at this point, A to Z, just at a different level. And that was kind of our past. And we worked with sellers in that capacity that way. And we haven't done that for a couple of years now, but we've been involved with other aspects of the community, the Amazon seller tribe, and being the Amazon seller community. And so, personally, we've always enjoyed the process of connecting and working with other sellers. And so I'm excited. I feel like this is kind of the next chapter of our personal, for you and me and the Amazing Freedom. This aspect of brand building is just coming alongside some of these sellers who we've worked with in some capacity over the last couple of years already, but now directly working with people in their brands. We've never done that before. We've helped people, teach them starting their brand, just like we've done, really more just showing people what we've done than teaching even. And that's been really fun. And that was kind of one chapter. And this is a chapter where I feel like we're going to come alongside sellers and either partner with them directly and work with them to accelerate their growth, get to the next phase. Maybe they're stuck or they're plateaued at the $500,000 a year mark, and they just don't know what it looks like to get to $1 million or 5 million, like you already just went through, Andy. And so we're looking forward to working with those sellers. And then some people who, like you just said, they're ready to get out because they want to be more focused on the next venture that they're working on, and they know that their current brand is they're not going to give it justice no matter what to work on it because they just don't have the time. And we've all been in that situation. So that's what we're looking to do with the direct path brands. And then there's a third thing I think that I'm really excited for. If you've been listening to the podcast this year, you know that we've expanded our team further with people, friends of ours really in the community that are now working with us on our brands and in our companies. And so we have Steve, who's been a friend of ours and the friend of the podcast for forever, it seems like now. And he works directly with us now. We actually just started working with another seller who we've known for a couple of years, and he is doing some sourcing and some product development work for us. And so what I'm excited about as part of Direct Path Brands is if you think working with us and our brands might be something you'd be interested in from either A, just a job career opportunity, or B, just a learning opportunity. That's something we are looking to expand out to as we bring on more brands. We're going to need more help. People in the community that already are experienced, I think, is a good place to start. So you'll see if you go to directpathbrands.com, just see if working with us might be something you want to do, or if selling your current brand might be something. Or, if you listen to this and you know someone who might be a good fit to work with us, or has a brand that might be a good fit to either partner with or sell to us, open to that too. It's not something that we are desperate for by any means. We've seen a lot of aggregator money flow into the Amazon ecosystem the last couple of years, and it seems like there was this desperate frenzy to do anything. That's not where we're at. We're kind of like, hey, we already have brands. We create our own brands. But if the right seller wants to come along and work with us, we're open to that. And in the past, we just didn't have the bandwidth to do that. Andy, how many people have you had reach out to you over the years who wanted to work with you in some capacity, and there just wasn't that bandwidth to do that? And I feel like we're at that place. But maybe speak to that for a moment, and why that might look different now.
Yeah. So again, it just goes back to, do you have the chops to be able to operate and manage what we currently have? And then, are you able to acquire other brands and add to that? And so for us, we're kind of at a place now where we think that we're able to do that. We have some key people in place who can limp along until they're able to train other people who will be dedicated, right, to the brands that we've acquired. And so, yeah, I think, we're ready to roll that way.
Yeah. So a little bit different type of episode today, but I think if you are in one of those situations, or if you know someone who is, go to directpathbrands.com, check it out, see what we're doing there. Always like to be transparent in kind of what Andy and I are working on in our business. And it's interesting, as we talked about this before, but as we move continually from the operators and the owners to more of the investor level of our business, I think that's something that we've talked about, that we think everybody should try to get on that path at some point. We're slowly transitioning our way there. We're still every day in meetings. We're still, Andy, you're still unloading containers at times. So we're kind of in this transitional period. But our goal, and I think everybody's goal who listens to this, should be at times to analyze your opportunity costs and see where you're at on that quadrant of being the sole proprietor to the CEO to the owner to the investor. And we're on this journey with you, with everybody listening to this as well. But if you're at this point where you think working with us in some capacity might be fun, might be something to look at, check out directpathbrands.com. All right. Well, next week, I think we'll be talking about some more tactical stuff we're doing in our business. But that'll do it for this week. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Amazing Freedom Amazon Seller Podcast. See ya.